Beyoncé Unboxed, the genre-shifting genius you never noticed. The echo that changed everything. Mime, picture the first time you heard her voice. It was a late-night car ride with the radio low, or a summer block party where the bass thumped through your bones. Perhaps you were a child, a parent, or somewhere in between. But when that voice filled the air, you stopped. The world seemed to hold its breath. There was something in that sound, an ache, a triumph, a promise that you'd never heard before. That's the Beyoncé effect. But behind every note, every shattering high, and every velvet low, there's a story few ever truly see. Because Beyoncé Knowles Carter isn't just a singer, a dancer, or a producer. She's a shapeshifter, a sonic alchemist, a genre-breaking genius who spent her life stretching the boundaries of what music can be. Tonight, we're not just listening to the hits, we're unboxing the hidden layers of her artistry, one genre at a time. This is the real story of how Beyoncé became the genre-shifting genius you may not have noticed. Houston roots, the birth of an R&B icon. Before the world crowned her queen, Beyoncé was B, a Houston girl with dreams bigger than Texas itself. Her father, Matthew Knowles, was a man of discipline, a manager with a vision. Her mother, Tina, ran a salon, filling their home with the laughter and stories of Black women from every walk of life. The city was a crossroads of sound, gospel choirs on Sunday mornings, blues drifting from open windows, the thump of hip-hop on every corner, and country twang humming underneath it all. As a child, Beyoncé found her first stage in the pews of St. John's United Methodist Church. The congregation was her first audience, and the gospel her first teacher. She learned that music was about more than melody. It was about soul, about testifying, about turning pain and joy into something that could lift others. She sang to heal, to celebrate, to survive. Then came Destiny's Child. 4 Houston girls, hungry for the spotlight, harmonize in Matthew's living room. But Beyoncé was different. Even as a teenager, her voice had the grit of the blues, the sweetness of Motown, and the swagger of hip-hop. Destiny's Child didn't just make R&B, they reimagined it. Say My Name, Survivor, and Bills, Bills, Bills weren't just songs. They were declarations. Feminist, fearless, and fiercely Southern. Each record bent genre. R&B with pop hooks, hip-hop beats, and gospel harmonies. Beyoncé was already learning how to be fluid, how to shapeshift, and how to lead. The seeds of reinvention, planted in Houston's fertile musical soil, were already taking root. Breaking the mold, solo stardom, and sonic experimentation. Going solo meant stepping into the unknown. For many, the leap from group member to solo star is a fall. For Beyoncé, it was a flight. Her debut album, Dangerously in Love, was more than a collection of songs. It was a manifesto. From the first horn blast of Crazy in Love, you could hear it. Pop, hip-hop, funk, and soul, all colliding in a sound that was fresh yet familiar. The track's go-go beat nodded to Washington, D.C., while Beyoncé's vocals soared over a sample from the Chi Lights, tying the past to the present in a single breath. Baby Boy layered reggae with R&B. Naughty Girl shimmered with disco. Every song was a risk, a new direction. The industry expected an R&B album. Beyoncé delivered a genre-bending statement. Her collaborations became laboratories for experimentation. With Jay-Z, she fused rap and pop into a new hybrid. Shakira brought Latin rhythms to the mainstream. With Sean Paul, she channeled dancehall's fire. She wasn't just borrowing sounds. She was building bridges, connecting cultures, and crafting a sound that was unmistakably her own. But even as she conquered the charts, Beyoncé was restless. Each album, each project, was a new experiment, a chance to test the boundaries of what a Black woman in pop could do. And with every risk, her legend grew. Pop royalty, innovation and mainstream mastery. Snate, by the time B-Day arrived, Beyoncé was not just a star. She was a phenomenon. The album was a burst of energy, drums that thundered, vocals that soared, and a sense of urgency that felt like a race against time. Irreplaceable flipped gender roles with a country twist, while Greenlight pulsed with funk and retro soul. But it was I Am Sasha Fierce that truly shattered expectations. Here was Beyoncé, split in two, one half the vulnerable ballad singer, the other a wild, untamed performer. Single Ladies, Put a Ring on It, became a global anthem, its dance moves as iconic as its message. Halo was pure pop, but with gospel intensity. If I Were a Boy borrowed from rock, while Sweet Dreams leaned into electronic. Beyoncé was no longer following trends. She was creating them. She honored the past with songs like At Last, a nod to Etta James, and looked to the future with tracks that merged genres in new, thrilling ways. With Four, she dug even deeper. There was funk, Love on Top, gospel, I Was Here, and Afrobeat, End of Time. Each song was a tribute to the artists who paved the way: Stevie Wonder, Fela Kuti, Michael Jackson, but with a twist that was uniquely Beyoncé. She showed the world that pop could be complex, that mainstream could be meaningful, and that a Black woman could be both the voice and the architect of her sound. The politicization of sound, soul, protest, and cultural revival. As her power grew, so did her vision. Beyoncé was no longer content to entertain. She wanted to challenge, provoke, and inspire. Her self-titled album, Beyoncé, arrived without warning, breaking every industry rule. It wasn't just an album, it was a visual feast, with each song paired with a short film. Here, genre was a playground. Drunk in Love was woozy and experimental. Partition blended French cabaret with hip-hop, and XO shimmered with 80s pop. But it was Lemonade that changed everything. This was a Southern Gothic epic, a journey through betrayal, anger, forgiveness, and redemption. Beyoncé draws from every corner of American music: the country twang of Daddy Lessons, the rock rage of Don't Hurt Yourself, featuring Jack White, the blues lament of 6 Inch, featuring The Weeknd, and the spiritual uplift of Freedom, featuring Kendrick Lamar. Through it all, she told the story of Black womanhood, its pain, its resilience, its beauty. She used genre as a weapon, a shield, a map. Lemonade wasn't about Beyoncé. It was about generations of Black women whose stories had never been sung so loudly. She took this message to the world's biggest stages. At the Super Bowl, she paid tribute to the Black Panthers and the roots of hip-hop. At Coachella, she brought the culture of historically Black colleges and universities to a global audience, blending marching band, gospel, New Orleans bounce, and rock in a performance that was part protest, part celebration, and all power. Beyoncé's sound was now inseparable from her politics. She used her music to speak the truth, to challenge the status quo, and to remind the world of the genius and glory of Black culture. Renaissance woman, country, house, and the future of sound. Says, and just when you thought you could define her, Beyoncé changed again. With Renaissance, she dove headfirst into house, disco, and ballroom culture, the underground movements that shaped queer and Black nightlife for decades. The album shimmered with dance beats, infectious hooks, and a sense of liberation. Songs like Break My Soul echoed the anthems of the 90s, while Alien Superstar and Cuff It paid homage to the legends of disco and funk. Beyoncé became a conduit for joy, freedom, and the feeling of losing oneself in the music. Then came Cowboy Carter. Where others saw the country as a closed club, Beyoncé saw roots. She traced the genre back to its Black origins, honoring artists like Linda Martell, blending country with soul, blues, and even gospel. Texas Hold'em and Blackbird were more than songs. They were reclamations, reminders that Black hands helped build country music from the ground up. Each new project wasn't just a genre experiment, it was a statement. Beyoncé refused to be boxed in. She honored the past, celebrated the present, and dreamed the future into being. Her legacy is now a living, breathing entity, a tapestry of sound that spans decades and continents, genres and generations. She's not just ahead of the curve. She's bending it, shaping it, breaking it, and making it new. The Unboxed Legacy. So, what do we see when we finally unbox Beyoncé? We see a woman who refuses to be one thing. A girl from Houston who sang herself from the choir pews to the world stage. An artist who bent genres to her will and invited us all along for the ride. But more than anything, we see a lesson that greatness isn't about fitting in. It's about breaking free. Every time you hear her voice, whether it's soaring over a gospel choir, snarling over a rock riff, or gliding atop a house beat, remember you're hearing not just a singer, but a movement. Not just a star, but a revolution. Beyoncé's gift is her courage to evolve, to experiment, to risk it all for something new. She teaches us that music, like life, is best lived without borders. That the crown is never given but earned, one boundary-breaking note at a time. So next time you press play, listen closely. Beneath the hits, beneath the headlines, there's a story of reinvention, resilience, and relentless creativity. That's Beyoncé Unboxed, the genre-shifting genius you never noticed. Until now. Thank you for listening to this deep dive into Beyoncé's sonic journey. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with fellow music lovers. Stay tuned for more stories of the artists who shape our world, one song at a time.